Did you know that in the 1960s, America used weather as a weapon during the Vietnam War? Imagine if a country could create artificial rain, control storms, and weaponize weather against its enemies. Sounds like science fiction, right? But this is absolutely real. If this sounds unbelievable to you, make sure you watch this video till the end, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you think about warfare forever. Operation Popeye, a classified mission that used weather modification technology during the Vietnam War. And when the world found out, international law had to be changed. Today we're going to learn about this secret operation that remained hidden for decades. Welcome back to our channel. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about an operation that officially didn't even exist, Operation Popeye. This is the story of a secret weather warfare program that the U.S. military conducted from 1967 to 1972 during the Vietnam War. In this video, we'll see how America used cloud seeding technology to extend the monsoon season, damage roads and supply lines, and disrupt enemy movements. We'll learn what classified documents reveal, how this operation was kept secret for decades, and how it eventually forced international law to change. So stay tuned, because this story might shock you. During the peak years of the Vietnam War in the late 1960s, the U.S. military was facing a unique challenge. North Vietnamese forces and Viet Cong guerrillas were using the Ho Chi Minh Trail, a complex network of roads, paths, and trails that ran from North Vietnam to South Vietnam, mainly through Laos and Cambodia. This trail was used for moving weapons, supplies, and troops, which was a major problem for American and Allied forces in South Vietnam. Traditional bombing campaigns weren't sufficient because roads in jungle terrain could be quickly repaired. In 1966, weather modification technology already existed for civilian applications. Cloud seeding, spraying silver iodide particles into clouds to induce rainfall, was already being used for agricultural purposes. U.S. military scientists realized that this technology had potential military applications. In March 1967, Operation Popeye was officially launched under the code name Operation Motorpool. Its objective was clear: create artificial rainfall over the Ho Chi Minh Trail so that roads would become muddy, supply lines would be disrupted, and enemy movement would slow down. The operation received authorization from the highest levels of the Pentagon, with direct approval from Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara and President Lyndon Johnson. But publicly, there was no mention of it. Even Congress wasn't initially given complete information about it. The aircraft used were specially modified C-130 cargo planes and F-4 fighter jets that seeded clouds with silver iodide and lead iodide particles. Primary target areas were Laos, border areas of North Vietnam, and certain regions of Cambodia where the Ho Chi Minh Trail passed through. Pilots were told these were regular weather reconnaissance missions as a cover story. Operation Popeye's secrecy was so tight that even many military personnel didn't know the complete picture. Pilots were told that this was routine weather modification for agricultural purposes, or to reduce visibility over enemy positions. But the reality was different. Classified documents that were revealed decades later showed that the operation's scope was much wider. Not only the Ho Chi Minh Trail, but North Vietnam's agricultural regions were also targeted. The idea was that excessive rainfall would damage crops and create food shortages, which would eventually weaken the war effort. Internal Pentagon memos suggest that scientists had calculated they could extend the monsoon season by 30 to 45 days in targeted areas. This meant 6 weeks of extra rainfall, muddy roads, damaged infrastructure, and disrupted enemy operations. But here's where the mystery deepens. Some declassified reports claim the operation was successful. Rainfall increased by 30% in targeted areas. But some scientists question whether these were natural weather patterns or really the result of artificial manipulation. The more controversial aspect is that some evidence suggests civilian areas were also affected. North Vietnamese farmers and local populations reported unusual flooding and crop damage during that time period, but officially, the U.S. never acknowledged that civilian areas were deliberately targeted. Intelligence reports show that the North Vietnamese government had figured out that something unusual was happening with weather patterns. They suspected artificial weather modification, but had no proof. Vietnamese scientists had documented their observations about unusual cloud formations and rainfall patterns. The biggest mystery is what the actual effectiveness of the operation was. Military reports show mixed results. Some areas saw significant disruption in Ho Chi Minh Trail operations, but there was no decisive impact on the overall war effort. North Vietnamese forces had developed adaptive strategies against adverse weather conditions. Another puzzling aspect is that the operation was suddenly discontinued in 1972, just before its existence became public. Did the government realize the secret was about to be exposed, or was the effectiveness disappointing? These questions remain unanswered today. When it comes to evidence, it primarily comes from declassified government documents. In 1974, journalist Seymour Hersh first exposed Operation Popeye in the New York Times. After that, Senate hearings were held, and gradually more information came into the public domain. Operation Popeye is also mentioned in the Pentagon Papers, though with limited details. Declassified CA documents reveal that the operation cost approximately $3.6 million annually, which was a significant amount at that time. Looking at technical evidence, whether modification technology genuinely worked. Scientists have proven that cloud seeding can increase rainfall by 10 to 30% under proper atmospheric conditions. Silver iodide particles act as nuclei around which water droplets form, creating precipitation. Military effectiveness theories are different. The official Pentagon assessment is that the operation created some disruption. In Ho Chi Minh Trail operations, road conditions worsened, truck movements slowed, and some supply deliveries were delayed, but no decisive military advantage was gained. From the North Vietnamese perspective, they developed countermeasures quickly. Better drainage systems, all-weather vehicles, and alternative routes were established. Some Vietnamese sources claim that artificial weather actually helped them in some cases because heavy rains made American airstrikes less effective. Environmental scientists theorize that weather modification on this scale could have long-term ecological consequences. Artificial rainfall disruption can affect natural water cycles, soil conditions, and vegetation patterns. Unusual environmental patterns were observed in some regions of Laos and Vietnam decades later, though proving direct causation is difficult. Conspiracy theories also exist. Some claim that Operation Popeye was just the tip of the iceberg and much larger weather warfare programs existed that are still classified today. Others suggest that the technology was much more advanced than publicly acknowledged, and selective drought creation was also possible. From a legal perspective, experts believe that Operation Popeye violated international norms, even though specific weather warfare laws didn't exist at that time. Under the Geneva Conventions, deliberately targeting civilian populations was prohibited, and weather modification that affected civilian agriculture could technically count as a violation. The scientific community mostly agrees that while weather modification technology worked to some extent, its military application was practically limited. Natural weather patterns are so complex that achieving precise control is extremely difficult. So this was the complete story of Operation Popeye, a secret weather warfare program conducted during the Vietnam War. This operation set an important precedent in history that weather can be weaponized, but it also showed that the consequences of such operations can be far-reaching. In 1977, as a direct response to Operation Popeye, the United Nations adopted the Environmental Modification Convention, which officially bans weather warfare. Today, 78 countries are signatories to this treaty. But questions remain unanswered. Do similar weather warfare programs still exist secretly today? What's possible with modern technology? And in the era of climate change, could weather modification become a legitimate tool in future conflicts? Let me know in the comments what you think was Operation Popeye. A justified military necessity, or did it cross ethical boundaries? Is weather warfare acceptable in modern conflicts? If you enjoyed learning about this hidden piece of history, hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating stories from the past. Next week, we'll discuss another classified operation from the Cold War era. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.